Junior hires, go.
Just a public service announcement. Microphone this close. It makes it easier for everyone to hear and the sound will work properly. Okay, thank you.
The first thing we did was we went to the nursing home and took a lot of the wheelchairs and stuff out of the basement of the nursing home. And in this picture, we were having wheelchair races. It was pretty fun.
In that picture, we were also raking at the nursing home because it needed to be done. And according to Mr. Burma, raking is one very aggressive action.
We also talked to a lot of old people, and I talked to a guy who was on the Missouri on the side of the tree defending World War II.
And we said some verses to the old people, and then we collected them. And I had a new best friend. Her name was Isla.
Realistic, I was here when I was talking to them, it was just how grateful and happy they were, even in their circumstance. And it's just so inspiring, and I wish we all had this before something that I learned, like your mama said, you're memorizing verses, and I want the importance of memorizing verses, and one, that we can apply it to our lives, and two, so we can share it to others, and that's a way that should be possible. And then we went to another school, and we cleaned it up a bit. It was just really cool seeing the floor and after it was cleaning. One thing I learned about serving is that serving isn't always beneficial.
Another thing that we did was we helped set up the auction and made fudge and Tide blankets for it too.
The first thing we did was some things training, and that was in Mr. Ketchum's room. Um, we did our testimony. Yeah, that's what we did our testimony, and then we practiced saying it to each other. And then the second day, we did some plays and practiced that.
So I was supposed to talk about the travel right up there, but I mean, in all reality, all you can do here in the car is eat, sleep, and talk. So pretty much all we do is just talk to each other.
Um, we went to Selfridge and we worked there for like all day, all 2 days, and then um, the last day we went to Fort Yates where we went to their church and seen their ministry there.
Okay, so the Hotties were the people that hosted us. They were really nice, and yeah, and this is Ugly Breed. It represents us as a class. Love it. One of the things that we did on Silver Days was Christmas stockings, and we unpacked them and took out the stuff that they didn't need and put other stuff back in it that they needed, and then repacked them and sorted them for the age groups.
For the drive, we just gave back to people who didn't have very much money to buy food. And it was just really emotionally charging because seeing how touched people were about giving back food.
For the food pantry, we first set out like all the clothes that the people in the common state, and then when they came, that was also the time we did the food pantry. And the thing that I learned over service days was that it doesn't really matter your duties, you have to go in and find a way to serve.
So after the meals, we cleaned off the tables, did dishes, and then we did Thursday. We did outside stuff. We cleaned the bus's windows, and then
So there was two buildings that were right next to each other. One was the church, and one was usually the Connie's old house or whatever. So that's the very outside of the flood. So it's just a lot of pulling right there, being tarped down, and rock on top, and yeah.
We talk about Second Thessalonians. I say just let us engage with each other's spiritual thoughts, and it was pretty nice to listen to what the Hanis thought about Second Thessalonians. So, yeah. Oh, it was. It was.
Okay, so we went to Wash Day Ranch, and that is an outreach run by Matt and Manhattan, that's me and Jacob's mom. And it's a summer camp for kids, all ages, who see them getaway for the day. But they're much more than an outreach. They do construction, which consists of Matt and a group of other guys going out to different places on my ranch and fixing up houses and doing other projects. And they also do meals for patients at the dialysis center. So when we were there, some of the things we did was like cooking and packing boxes. We worked with the church family to make food for the Wednesday night prayer meeting, and we made multiple dishes, including cornbread, brownies, and cousin bread. And we also run like a little wellness clinic that does eye checks and other things. And delivering meals was one of the main things we did. And they were doing like a light to the residents of Pine Ridge, and they served God by providing like the basic needs of the community.
Okay, so one of the things that they did there was a dialysis deal. And what dialysis is when your kidneys don't filter your blood properly, or you don't have kidney or whatever. And they take a machine and they run your blood through the machine. And so we were helping out with packing lunches for that. They pack lunches so they could send the patients home. with a full meal, and because it just helps. I don't know. And we also packed like a Thanksgiving meal for each of the patients, so they could take home, because not all of them had as much money as everybody else did. But we did that and did an outreach for that. And me, Reese, Brianna, and Mr. Fisher, all together, we packed like 720 sandwiches in 2 hours or whatever. So that was awesome.
The camp helped. The camp helped out the locals with construction needs. They bring different work crews in and fix houses, like what we did Thursday night. We worked on replacing siding on a house. We worked with a team from Georgia who came down to help. They weren't paid. The camp just brought them in and they wanted to help because they could and they wanted to serve God. And then some of the locals also came by to help. This part of the ministry helps to create an environment where the gospel can be reasonably thought about. If people are trying to figure out how to stay warm at night, they can't really think about eternal possibilities, even though those are the most important ones.
Okay, so we went through 2 Thessalonians for our devotions on Saturday, and we had devotions twice a day, morning and night. We talked about 4 main questions. What changes when you live with eternity in mind? Does God allow evil? What if I want to give up? And are you stuck in idols? One thing we learned is that we didn't have evil in the world, we would not see our need for God. Our selfishness often blinds us to the needs around us. Selfishness also prevents us from serving people and doing what God calls us. Our class learned to be like Jesus by serving wholeheartedly in a manner of kindness and love. Seeing the poverty of the people around us led to want to help people and see Jesus through our work. The people we worked in ministry with had a Christ-like joy around them that influenced us. The hearts and attitudes in the ministry of the camp and church was inspiring us that week and for the future. God called them for that work in that typical place to reach the ones who need the love of Christ. We saw the attributes of Jesus on our sermon days, and our class hopes to reflect that in the future.
Hi, everybody. So we went to Eagles.
Hold the microphone.
So we went to Eagles Nest in Long Bay, South Dakota. This was basically like a church. We got to meet Gus, Terry, and Kyle, his wife. They were just very welcoming to us. And a little bit about like what they had to offer. They have like an AA, and then they do a women's outreach. And they're working right now on trying to have like a monthly like gathering for people so they can impact and get an opportunity to kind of help with that. So
So one of the first things we did when we got there, they kind of warned us there's going to be a lot of chopping wood, and there was a lot of chopping wood. There was one pile in their yard, and they just had us all throw it close to the wood burner. So that's what we did right away. And they had a big flatbed with all the logs and stuff, and I guess you can see from the pictures, we just had everybody with chainsaws. It was kind of sketchy. We were just cutting up all the logs, and then we had a bunch of people on splitters, and they were splitting it. It was just really nice to see. I think they were really blessed by that because the wood burner was right there, and it was just burning or heating the whole church and everything, and it just helped them keep on through all the winter. So it was just a lot of fun, and it was a lot.
So, Gus Craven is the main guy who kind of runs the place. And so he has his bus. He calls it the Gus bus. So it's got these, on sides, got his little ministry bus, and they kind of run around. And so, like in the summertime, sometimes it takes kids on activation to the lake, and they can go do that. And so, on Thursday, we went out to his place, and the girls were cleaning out the bus. And so Annalise and I were more or less cleaning. We were actually duct taping seats back together. So I think the biggest thing from the Gus list that kind of stuck out to me is like, I mean, all of us probably know that we're a lot more blessed than we think we are, but But when you actually kind of get to be there and see that, it means a lot more. It can take a bigger impact on your than what you realize. So, kind of seeing like the before and after that, like I honestly wish we got a before and after picture because that bus was like there were like flip flops in there. And there's like all sorts of just funky stuff on the seats. We all put it back together. His ministries are really good thing for that place. But yeah, no, we really are truly blessed to be in any situation we are compared to a lot of people. So, God's blessings, guys.
So on the bus ride to the place, we played a lot of games, card games, which didn't work very well on the bus. So we tried to do some word games, which was pretty fun, and we got to know each other a little bit better. When we were there, we had a decent amount of downtime, and we played quite a few different sorts of games. But very interesting, kind of definitely, we got a lot closer. A few people decided they wanted to try to split a very large log with a very dull axe, which kept a few people busy for a few hours. It was really fun time just kind of hanging out and getting to know a lot of people, especially with so many new people with us, and it was a good time.
So I guess our more like spiritual aspect of our certificate trip was we have this, I guess, like worship, well, not necessarily worship night, but people from the reservation, their families came, and there was a majority of kids there. There was a range from like infant to old grandma. So there was definitely a lot of different aspects on life there. And so we had 3 skits that we did. I guess we had a more humorous one, which was the John Doe, which you guys have seen, and then we did Forgot to Love, which was basically just going through John 3:16, and then we had one where we were just going through different trials in people's lives, and then back to each problem up with scripture and how you can like get through those problems, and so that was really good. It was hard to keep the kids who were younger kind of like focused for that time, but I think it was really good. And after that, they had the opportunity to come up and get a free Bible and talk to any of us, and I think it was only Hunter and I who got to talk to some kids, but I don't necessarily think that they got saved that night, but I definitely planted a seed. I made a comment to one of the boys as he was playing basketball. I was like, "Do you know Jesus loves you?" And he's like, "I'm not gay." So I was like, "Okay, well, but maybe later on he'll like think about it in a not immature way." So that planted a seed. So that was the ministry there, and then just when we were helping with games and handing out prizes throughout the night and just setting up for the night, it was just good to have a servant's heart and encouraging them. And I thought that was really good. And then I guess we, after the girls went to their dormitory, I guess, and you guys went to theirs, I know I can speak for the girls, we had really nice fun bonding time, and we had a lot of fun with Kayla. And it was just really fun to grow closer as a class, because not all of us live in the dorm, so it was really nice.
So, yeah, what Annalise was talking about, was, was the outreach, that's what we called it. We were handing out gifts and stuff for the elderly and more people there. And there were some mini games and basketball there too. So what me, Jacob, and Trey did was play basketball with some kids. And I wasn't really planning on really talking to people because I was real nervous and I didn't want to screw anything up, but I was trying to play basketball. And so just one thing that stuck out to me was that Jeremiah 21:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declare the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and hope. And I hope, no matter what, God will have plans for you." That's what
one thing I learned over the sermon days and helped me grow more into faith and knowing more of my classmates and getting a lot of some more.
So over 7 days, we run through Second Thessalonians and Devos, and we talk about living purposely after we come to know Jesus, living in a way that will help others see Him through us. One verse goes along with that is Second Thessalonians 1:11. Says, "To this end, we always pray for you, that our God may make you worthy of His calling, and may fulfill every resolve for good and every work of faith by His power." And we also talked about being ready for when Jesus comes back, and just living in a way that's prepared. And going through Second Thessalonians, I think it was a good reminder that even when we were just chopping wood, not necessarily working with other people in the community, we were helping the people there so that they would have time later to go out among the community and reach them. And then when we were interacting with that community there, we were examples of Christ. So both different roles are very important, and we need to serve God through whichever we're doing at the time.
What I learned from this training was just how great it was to be a servant of God, to be a fisherman, to spread and share the gospel, to just want others to have the relationship that I have with Christ.
So senior trip is a little different than sermon days. We're still serving the community, but also having just additional time just to have fun and fun as a class. But even before the trip, we made kind of like a saying, or I don't know how you would say it, but we called it a senior trip team covenant, which is we commit to present ourselves as genuine and loving, using discernment and self-control, being patient and humble in all circumstances, devoting ourselves to glorify God. And a verse that goes along with that is 2 Timothy 1:7-8. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Therefore, do not be ashamed of the testimony about our Lord, nor of me, his prisoner, but share in suffering for the gospel by the power of God. We read these two the verses and the covenant every morning and every time we moved to a different place, just to remind ourselves why we were there. And so we first began in the West Youth Fund Camp, which is in Edgerton, Kansas. And so then right away, it was Sunday, so we got to decide where to go to church. We kind of went to a church that had not the usual like aspects and characteristics that we might find here in South Dakota. It was still a Bible sound church, and that's what we were more focused about, just seeing the different kind of churches that are in the world. So we decided on going to a New Life Community Church, which I think Bree was the most familiar with that kind of church and just the atmosphere it was. And I know she kept saying on the trip that it just reminded her of home, and it gave a bunch of us a new perspective on what churches look like and how different and how to even choose a church. Because we're all seniors and we're all going to have to make that decision soon. So then at the West Youth Front Camp on Monday, when we started working, we spent most of the day just working on Christmas lights there. And they kind of used that as a way to raise money for the camp. Because like they decorate the entire campus and there was a unique seeing some of the people on roofs. And but then another opportunity we had there was to split wood, and Anthony started fighting the wood a little bit. But then soon after we left it, went to the East Youth Front Camp, which was in Listen, Kansas. We spent Tuesday through Wednesday working, and one of the main things that really touched me there was the cook, Tammy. She has been a big part of that camp, and just the love that she shows to everyone, even without really knowing us. And she kind of explained the ministry there a little better than at the other camp. This camp was more for the less fortunate kids, and they just used the opportunity to spread the gospel to them and just to even give them an escape because they might not have the best homes or the best circumstances in life. And that's something that really touched me. And then while there, we most of us painted cabins, and which was really interesting because they like to paint each other. But we got 12 cabins done, which hadn't been done for about 15 to 20 years. And some of us cleaned the cabins, all of them. There were total 23 in total, and that included just cleaning the bedding and cleaning the bathrooms, and yeah. And then, like I said before, like it was still a senior trip, and we had the opportunity to do different stuff that we normally wouldn't have on certain days, which was like going to an outdoor mall and going to Union train station in Kansas City and having even games at night, just relaxing with each other and having each other's company. But one of the most important things about the trip was just the devotion times. And in the mornings, we went through the 2 Thessalonians packet that everyone mentioned, and we did that individually and just meditated on it, hopefully all the day, and just the servitude of having that. But then at night, we went through Galatians, and so if you turn to Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And just applying that to our trip, and even just having the fellowship with each other, that we as believers are just one with each other, that even though we might argue and bicker and not get along, that we're still all in one. And yeah. So there's going to be a handful of us that are just going to tell about some stories and some things that we learned during the trip.
So I thought that we all knew each other pretty well. We were pretty close before we went on the trip. But when you spend 8 hours and 3 hours in a car and then 3 hours at McDonald's together, you get closer. And yeah, so but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of good memories. No matter what time they were, if they were 1 in the morning or 12 in the afternoon. But even though we had a lot of fun and we laughed a lot, I felt like it was a really good spiritual experience. And just you could see how God was working in those camps and just how present He was. And like it was really impactful to see like how we could help in those kids' lives even not even seeing them. So yeah.
Okay. So going on the senior trip, I kind of figured that it's gonna be a fun trip, and like of course by the end of it that we're gonna get tired, like it's gonna be a week, and I just didn't think that who's gonna get tired first was our chaperone, Mr. Hall. And it's not even like the second day of the trip, and we're playing games and we're having fun, but this man is just like sleep drunk or something, I don't know. He's like, we were just walking on the sidewalk and all of a sudden he just trips over with like hair or everything. And just like on the ground and we all like were like, Mr. Hall, are you okay? He's like, my ankle. And Phil he turns out, like, where's my sherbet? My sherbet. It was confusing. And that same night we were playing games, and Bree and some kids over there were playing games, and Bree's just like was standing on the chair and like bending over. He's like, should I do it? We're like, no. He's like, I'll do it. So he's standing on the chair, bending over. This was awkward. Yeah. My favorite was that same night we were going back to our cabins. It's really dark and like there's a bunch of trees and stuff, so we're like kind of just like, okay, just walk to your cabin as soon as you can. But Mr. Hall had the best idea to tell us all a great story about when his friend had, when they were traveling on the interstate and his friend had crammed the car. So it was just like almost midnight and all you hear is Mr. Hall going, Graham! Graham! That was my highlight.
So on the way down, the expedition broke down. I think we were about 10 miles outside of Sioux City. And Miss Roman was driving, and we kind of didn't know what was happening because the oil gauge was going like this. And anyway, we pulled off on the exit ramp, and it quit, and we were rolling up and stuff. And David and I get out, check the oil, there's no oil in the engine. And then we checked it before we left, so something was wrong. But anyway, it was pretty fortunate. We were about not very far outside of Sioux City, and by the time we put oil on it and drove it to the nearest gas station, Mr. Hall already had a minivan reserved to rent. And God just was really looking out for us there, and like it could have been broke down in the middle of nowhere. We could have been stranded. Yeah, he just really helped us out there. So yeah.
So one thing that me and Lydia learned on this trip was discernment. And one thing River learned on this trip was self-control. So where we were staying, there was a lake, and we were all swimming and fishing or whatever one day. And me and Lydia were walking, and we saw River in his pajama pants and just like chilling. So we walked over to him and we were like, maybe we could push him in and would he mind, whatever. So we went up to him and we pushed him. But one thing we didn't know was that in his pocket he had his phone. So yeah, it kind of.
What are you laughing at? You done, son? You chilling?
Just one more verse here to close, and I hope this is true of all the trips, but Galatians chapter 1, verse 24, they glorified God because of me. And it's an interesting question to ask ourselves. Can we confidently say they glorified God because of me? And I hope that's true every day in our lives, not just on the Servant Days trip, but I hope that people praise God because of the time that we're able to spend investing in their ministries and investing in each other. And the last thing I just want to say is thank all the sponsors and the leaders who are willing to go and put that time in. I know that it's a sacrifice to go, but it also is a huge encouragement and a blessing to be able to go. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for your love for us. I thank you how you went before us. And some Mr. Fisher chose that you went before us in these trips, and the ministry and the opportunities laid out before us. I thank you for your protection. Thank you for the awesome weather that you blessed us with. Just pray that your name would be proclaimed throughout our lives. In the name of Jesus would be glorified in these ministries that we're able to partner with. Just thank you and praise you for it. Pray blessing upon the rest of our evening.
Hey. Where can you find those pictures at?
Joyce.